Good evening, and welcome to Spotlight on Education. I'm Dr. Joseph J. Sweeney, Superintendent of Schools at East Brunswick. And this is the third in a series of our programs on our educational system. We talked to Mr. Walker about his efforts and endeavors, the President of the Board of Education. And the last time we had our program, we talked to Dr. Banja on elementary science. And tonight we have in our studio a very old friend of mine who I feel very comfortable with, Mr. Kenneth Koppell, the supervisor of art K-12 and in the East Brunswick school system. And that's what we're going to speak about tonight, the art program. Ken, I've listened to you talk about art theory and some practicalities, and I've listened to your vocabulary change over a period of time. And now you're using the word visual literacy. What does that really mean when it's applied to art?
Well, Joe, we educate people to read and to spell, to compute, to understand science, use good grammar, develop good citizenship. But we spend very little time during the day educating people to see. In other words, to educate their sight. Most people can actually discriminate very little in terms of quality in the daily environment, and they can't actually discriminate the trivial from the quality. Relating this to the context of public school education, if we spent as much time during the school day as we do teaching spelling and reading and writing and the so-called basics, we would produce visually literate people. And if people were, as we call, more visually literate, I think we'd have a much more beautiful world because their sense of sight, their sense of discrimination would be that much further advanced.
You know, you use another term, and I guess it's a practical thing or sort of a common thing, and you compare baseball to art. How do they work? How do they go together? I think I understand that, but I'm not sure.
Well, before we get into baseball, there's an interesting statistic that I came across recently, and that is that more people go to art museums each year than they do sports events. And related to that one is another interesting statistic about the Grand Canyon. 4 times as many people went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art last year as did visit the Grand Canyon. So you see that there's a tremendous amount of interest in the arts. And you know, it's funny how people, because they can see, they think that they know about art. But I think the analogy with baseball is that if we took someone to a baseball game and that person knew nothing about baseball, if they didn't understand the rules, the strategies, how to hit, fielding, the techniques of the game, the person might understand the baseball game, but the question is how much would they really appreciate the finer points of the game? They would miss that much from a person who normally goes to the game. In art, it's the same situation. The more that you know about the subject, and that's very true in art, the more you'll enjoy it.
Do you use that some way in your classes? Or do you say the same thing to the students when you teach?
Yes, we certainly attempt to do that. Some people think that in terms of teaching art that you just give the students materials and they will create. But we found that it takes, they have to know the techniques and the whole skill involvement in art in order to express themselves better.
Yeah, art's a kind of a curriculum where you could get into something very physically, and there's been a lot of discussion recently about the left and right side of the brain and hemispheres. Are you discussing that in your class? Do you have any theories about it?
Well, we don't discuss that in our class, but it's interesting that evidence that has come out that the right side of the brain tends to develop analytical activities. And we teach during the day kids how to read and how to spell, as I said earlier. And the right side of the brain deals with rote memory and, as I said, these analytical activities, whereas the left side deals with intuition, creativity, the imagination, and feeling. And art is one of the few subjects during the school week that the students have an opportunity to express themselves with, let's say, the left side of the brain, to stimulate the left side of the brain.
Well, when should we start to begin our education in art? At what age do you think?
Well, in the old days, in medieval times, we used to apprentice young children in art guilds. And I think that if you look at Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Raphael, and almost right through the 20th century, artists were apprenticed at a very early age to study with the masters. And in that tradition, we can see J.C. Wyeth was a famous illustrator in the first part of the century, and his son, Andrew Wyeth, who is today probably one of the most well-known American artists, studied with his father, and exclusively, and that's how he developed his talent. And now we have Jamie Wyeth, who is also a well-known illustrator today, who also studied with his father. So that apprenticeship system has been very successful. As to the way we do it in East Brunswick, we begin with kindergarten, just as school begins. That's the first art experience with a certified art teacher. And the students in kindergarten and first and second and third grades, they work with the art teacher between 30 and 40 minutes a week. In grades 4 through 6, these students get 2 40-minute periods of art a week, and that's with their art teacher. In the 7th grade, we have a cycle of art, which is required for all students, and that's 10 weeks long. And that's the last experience for all students to receive art instruction. Because in 8th grade, we go into an elective program, and that's a half-year program which students can take, and they can back that up with typing or with foreign language or whatever. In 9th grade, we have a full-year elective program, and students can elect art as a full year in 9th grade. That's still in Churchill and Hammersholt. In East Brunswick Senior High School, we have a completely different kind of a program. And in the high school, we have mostly half-year courses. It's not like when you and I went to high school where they had a major art program and a studio art program and a general art program. In East Brunswick High School, we have primarily introductory experiences into specific art areas such as crafts and sculpture and photography. We have a year-long commercial art track. We have ceramics. A student can take textiles, a painting course, illustration, interior design. Experiencing art is an interesting course because we dovetail that with the science lab. So a student during the 3 days a week when they don't have the lab can take that particular course. And then we have, of course, AP Art History.
As you know, I'm going around in the mornings talking to the elementary teachers, and you can almost anticipate the questions that are going to come up about art. That in the first 3 grades, there's a difference, I think you said, a 30 to 40-minute period. Mm-hmm. Is that by design or scheduling, or why is that particular time slot there?
In the first 3 grades,
yes.
Because we find that as the introductory experiences in art, like any subject, art as it continues becomes more complex, so that the need for the art teacher to continue to build the skills is much greater as the child advances. Mm-hmm. It's somewhat easier for a classroom teacher or a teacher to begin creative experiences in art in kindergarten and first grade, but the same student in 6th grade has already developed certain skills, and you need to have an art teacher in order to fulfill those skills.
I think that was my experience. I told you that old story when I was in lower grades. I could get away with stick men, but when I had the same kids in 6th grade, they wanted to brush me aside because they wanted to know about perspective, and I really didn't know it. So the art teacher is needed. I would agree with you then. Well, one of the questions I get also when I go around and talk to the public in the budget hearings about art and some other areas too is that, well, what good is it? I mean, other than the aesthetics. Does the program at the high school enable a youngster to have a career in art, and do we prepare them in some way to go into the work world?
Yes, we work very hard in terms of preparing the students to not only develop their talents for possible future hobbies and avocations, but to develop them in terms of a career. As you know, the art business is an enormously large industry, and it's growing every year. Every aspect of our lives seems to be shaped by the artist. This TV production, in a sense, is an art form. Business logos, the car you drive was designed by an industrial designer. Room interiors in your home often are done by interior designers. The architect who designed this building, the clothes we wear, almost everything that we deal with, almost everything that we look at, in a sense, was designed by an artist. So the market continues to expand each year because In our materialistic society, we found that things that look good sell well. And, you know, if a thing is designed interestingly, then the public will buy it. So there's more and more of a demand for artists. And East Brunswick has been very successful in getting our students into the best art schools. And I can think of a student right now. She's a senior in East Brunswick High School and took commercial art. And she's so adept at the airbrush that she has a stand at the Route 1 flea market and does T-shirts on, people will come up to her and say, I like to play golf, would you do a T-shirt? And she'll airbrush a T-shirt for the person right there. And she also customizes vans and cars. And she's making so much money from this that she's, in fact, her income at some weeks is larger than her teachers in high school.
Well, I don't know whether I dare raise this question, but you and I were involved in the ceramics program, and that created a great deal of controversy in the school system, and you defended it very well, and I try to support it with the knowledge that I have, plus budgeting monies. Where is it at now, and how do you feel about it? You were through that, you were tested. I think up to that point, it was a program that existed and not much was said about it, but all of a sudden it was the center of a great controversy, and you were involved in it. How do you feel about that experience?
Well, I hope, and we're expecting to get our ceramics room in the high school this fall. The room is being renovated, or should be renovated this summer. And we found that ceramics was a very popular course in high school. One reason is that the students, when they work with clay, are making, you know, like this pot here, they're making something useful, something tangible, and something real. And during the school day, you have to remember that we have at least 20% of our students don't go on to college. And yet, for the most part, they're dealing with academic courses during the school day. And this gives them an opportunity, literally, in a sense, to work off steam, to work with their hands, and to do something constructive. So in that respect, it's almost like a release for students, even more so than painting and photography and some of the other courses. And it's been a very meaningful experience for students, probably more so than most of our art courses. A little later, you'll see the mall show. We have some footage at the mall. Mm-hmm. And Gary Vaganic, who graduated a few years ago, came up to me at the mall show and told me about how ceramics had changed his life. He said when he was a sophomore, he had a lot of problems. He wasn't doing well in school. And when he learned how to throw a pot, center a pot on the wheel, he said in a sense it centered his life, and it became a reason to go to school. Ceramics became the most interesting and most viable subject that he had. By senior year, he said he almost made the honor roll, and now he's making a living selling his pots and ceramics. He still feels that he's thankful for ceramics. And then we have another student, son of one of our teachers in the high school. He took ceramics and went on to college and had we mix glazes in ceramics. It saves us money, and it gives the students an opportunity to learn how glazes are compounded. And this student saw an ad in the newspaper. He was not doing well after college, and he followed this ad through, and through his knowledge of ceramics, it was an ad for industrial ceramics, he got this job and now works in it and is doing very well with ceramics.
That's it. Do you have any examples of how art is used with the basics and the other subjects?
Yes, we have, just so happens, Dr. Sweeney, I have with me a publication which is going home when this program is being shown. It should be home already. This is our art literary magazine at the elementary level. And here we combine art and literature. We have the best examples of art and outstanding examples of literature combined. So you see it's an integration of the two forms, and it's an opportunity for students to share in their their product, and to use as an example for teachers to show the outstanding kinds of things that are done at the elementary level. This is also carried through at the junior high. Last year we had our first publication at Churchill School called Pages, and this is the cover, and it's similar to the other magazine. And then we've always had, the model through the years has always been what we call Folio, which is the East Brunswick High School Art Literary Magazine. I'll just show this one page from Folio. And this magazine, I think, was back in the time that we taught. It's
Yes,
probably
that
about 20 years old.
I
since
think
we've
I
been
know
doing
the
it.
dragon quite well. Ken, I think that we might be able to see how art relates to social studies in an actual situation. I believe we have some film that we want to roll here in the studio. So maybe if we will look at that and
Certainly.
maybe you could comment.
As I said before, this footage was taken at Central School. Mr. Yablonsky was teaching an elementary art class. And in this class, he was attempting to integrate an assignment dealing with masks with an African study of African culture. And the students at this point in the classroom have made large-size masks out of, it might be from, let's see, the use of wallpaper paste or Paris craft. And the forms are developed three-dimensionally, and at the stage that we're looking at them now, they're creating backgrounds. See, we're focusing in now at a student using a crayon to develop a pattern. The mask then will be placed in the center of the pattern, and it will create a colorful and a background for the mask. The masks have a variety of textures, as you can see, and a variety of colors. They use feathers and they use different kinds of scraps from home. The art program often uses many kinds of material, including not only do we buy materials, but we often ask parents to bring to the school with their children various kinds of scraps and different kinds of materials that we can use in collage. There are many opportunities for the art teacher to integrate art into the classroom studies. Social studies is especially an interesting area, as we see here. Often the art teacher can go in and show slides. If a student is learning about medieval times, the use of stained glass windows is an effective slide presentation. The students in most of our classes, art is a relatively less structured than an academic classroom would be, but the sound is on in this picture. Mr. Yablonsky's class is very highly structured. The students know exactly what they're doing, and we expect our children to work in art in a serious manner, and I think you can see that occurring here. As the students continue in art, as I mentioned before, in grades 4, 5, and 6, you go into the double period sequence, and then you can really develop a much more varied and advanced product. Here we're looking at a sculpture that was done earlier in the year, and in the background, as the camera begins to pan about, you'll see a display of art that was previously completed earlier. This one deals with different shapes, abstract shapes. Mr. Yablonsky has a good sense of humor with his displays, and usually I think you'll see in the footage such as here, Big Deal is the title of this, and it deals with playing cards, and the students created these giant playing cards, and here we have another title, Pick of the Letter, where the students work with letters, and We're in Great Shape, which students work with abstract shapes. From here we're going to Welcome to the Park means the Brunswick Square Mall. The merchants there have been kind enough to let us exhibit and work in the mall each year prior to Mother's Day. And here we see a student working in the mall, and she's working from an actual specimen, a fox, that Mr. Treptow from Milltown was kind enough to lend to us so the students can actually draw from real animals. This, you can see, is the fox set up in the mall, and now we're looking at a drawing that a student has done. In fact, this is the girl that did the airbrush that I told you about earlier, who airbrushes T-shirts.
I thought that was real at first.
Right, she's a remarkable young lady, and you can see the quality of a drawing there done with all the people around her. Interesting that she's left-handed here, too. There is the scene, if you can make it out, of the fox, which we set up, and here's another girl drawing, and you can see it's quite realistic, too. It's a wonderful experience for the students to work in the mall, because it's, in music, students want people to hear what they're doing, Baseball, people like, the kids want people to see how well they're doing. And the same is true in art. And we get them out of the classroom and into the real environment, the real working world where the neighbors are, where the community is. This gives them an outstanding opportunity to show the taxpayers, to show the public what they're doing and how well they're doing it. And at this point, we're looking at scenes throughout the mall. This one is a close-up of a sculpture that a student has done, a ceramic sculpture of a horse's head. And in the background, you see our students again. It's another part of the mall where they're working in ceramics. In one area, they were drawing, and another area, they were making their clay and ceramics. And this is part of the display. They sell their work in the mall on just before Mother's Day, and those students that have done a lot of work have the opportunity to sell it, and it's a very exciting opportunity for them. Here we see a student beginning to throw a pot. If you've never thrown a pot, you wouldn't realize it, but you can see, for the potter with experience, can see that the young lady is having a little difficulty centering, but she's getting it. It's a little wobbly, but she's come along quite a way. If you try to throw a pot, or if a person without training try to throw a pot, it's very, very difficult. It looks awfully easy, but it takes a great deal of skill. And it's that challenge of being able to master the wheel that really turns a lot of kids on. And you can see how carefully she's working. Here's another young lady working on a large coil pot. And sometimes we have students who, we have some girls who have made ceramic pots almost as tall as they are. And you can see this one's about 18 inches, 2 feet high. And each coil is fastened together just the way it was done in ancient times, the way the Indians did it and other cultures. And here we have a young man throwing a pot. This young man last year was a student at East Brunswick High School. He won the $1,000 in a ceramics competition, the highest award given in New Jersey. And he's now studying at Alfred University, which is the most famous school in the country for ceramics. And he just happened to wander by too. You can see here, this is Mitchell Wolfchuk, and he's throwing the pot. You just took the lump of clay, and now he's beginning to center it. And as I said, it's deceivingly simple when you look at it, but it's not quite that easy as this sort of magic expands. At this point, Mitch is again just centering it, and then the next thing he's going to do is gradually open it up. Most of the students don't go on the wheel at first in ceramics. The first opportunity is to learn how to build things with their hands, with coils and with slab forms and what we call pinch pots. And the second part, what we call ceramics workshop, the students begin to develop skills with the wheel. Most of our advanced students make their own wheels. All the wheels that we use in our ceramics program were made by the students. They're all kick wheels. We don't use electric. And if a student, for a very nominal fee, just for the cost of wood, can make a wheel, and then after the course they can throw pots for the rest of their life. As you can see here, Mitch is coming along. The pot is open. He's drawing it up and slowly refining it into the form that he wants to make. As I said, it looks very simple, but Mitch has studied ceramics with us in high school for 3 years, and now he's had this year at Alfred. The students enjoy the mall, as I said earlier, because you can see them all working. It's a wonderful opportunity to, it's a great ego-building experience to go out there, and just as the students and the marching band like to march before the public, our kids who have developed these skills and studied for so many years in art enjoy showing the public the kinds of things that they can do.
Ken, what kind of comments do you get from the public?
Well, a funny comment that we keep getting from the public was that we didn't have many signs up for this show, and they thought that this was several high schools exhibiting. And the truth of the matter is that, of course, it's only East Brunswick High School, and people are always amazed that so much quality work could come from one high school.
Yeah, Dr. Seiden on our Board of Education, when you had your exhibit, I believe, in the medical school, he commented that as he looked at it, and he didn't want to be boastful, but our ceramics program was so much superior to anything else. Not only the actual things that they built, but how they set it up and the creativity and exhibiting. He said it was far superior than any other group that was there.
Well, I think that's true. We had an opportunity this year to show at Montclair State College, and only 5 other high schools in the state of New Jersey were invited to show at the college. And our show there was very successful as well. Our program has won, as you know, many awards for its
Yes,
excellence in art, and we are known throughout the state.
Ken, I've been to the mall too, and I've seen that program, been very, very impressed with it. I was thinking while we were watching it that probably you and myself are maybe one of the 9 or 10 people in the whole community that has realized or been able to see how this program grew from the high school where you started almost from nothing. You only had some clay and a few pots then to where it is now. Do you feel that the growth is worthwhile, and you devote a good part of your life to it? What is your reaction to that? Has it been worthwhile with all the battles and things that we've had?
Well, I think it's been very worthwhile. I think that the community is really responsible in a great deal for the success of the program. We've had wonderful support and cooperation from the Board of Education. The parents in East Brunswick are very concerned and interested in art, just as they are in all the arts, in art and music and dance. And in that respect, East Brunswick is an unusual community. And I think if you look at all the art programs, the visual arts and the music and our dance program, the dramatic program that we have, we are outstanding. And I think it goes from the teachers, the staff, as well as the community itself.
Well, I agree with that, and I appreciate your being here, and thank you very much, and good luck to you. Our next program will deal with the New Jersey Thorough and Efficient program, and I will be the host then to Dr. Seiden and Dr. Burnett, who are intimately involved in that, and we'll see how Jersey fares under the Thorough and Efficient program. We do very well in East Brunswick. And thank you for looking in, and good evening.